the very first line, the song Eleanor Rigby by the Beatles is introduced as a dedication for lonely people. The R is meant to evoke sympathy to the subject. By looking at the lonely people, Paul McCartney distances himself from the sentiment, indicating that he is just the storyteller, not an actual character in the ballad. The melody takes place in the Dorian mode and follows an arc that leaves the final note a fourth below the first. This, combined with the legato nature of the vocals, creates an illusion of a discontented sigh. The discontent is further magnified by the vocals, cellos, and violins resolving at different times. In addition to this, the song does not start on the tonic chord, but rather a major 6 chord. The harmonic motion of sliding downward from the C major to the E minor only gives more credit to the impression of a sigh. This discontented sigh, evoking sympathy for lonely people, is so central to the message that it is repeated almost exactly, creating a small sense of stability and forming the hook of the song. The song then goes on to describe Eleanor Rigby, a church worker cleaning up after the wedding. She wants to be wedded herself, however she hides her identity from the world, making it impossible for someone to love her. Some even go as far as saying that she has no identity. The fourth line of the stanza suggests that no one will see her anyway, that she is just another person to go unseen and unnoticed. McCartney seems to go out of his way to turn the spotlights on the second and fourth lines. The line lengths surprise us by being significantly shorter than their predecessors, and the lines are at the tail end of an unconventional 5-bar sequence. There is also an abrupt change in the rhythm between lines 1 and 2, and then again between lines 3 and 4. The harmony, which has just changed to C major, abruptly switches back to E minor, and the melody switches between the Dorian and Aeolian modes depending on the presence of a C major chord. All of these factors draw attention to the words "lives in a dream" and "who is it for," the lyrics that really drive in the message of Eleanor's loneliness. The chorus follows, capturing the essence of the song by asking questions that make us, as an audience, sympathise with lonely people. Since neither the narrator nor the audience are the lonely people the song speaks of, the chorus is stable with a combination of repetition, couplets, and a conventional ABAB rhyme scheme. It's a play on the original hook with reference to the lyrics and an overall downward contour. The harmony contains an E minor drone with a downward spiraling cello part that recreates the sighing sensation of the hook. The reuse of the word all reminds us that Eleanor Rigby is not the only lonely person, which sets us up for the seemingly unrelated stanza about Father Mackenzie. Father Mackenzie is then introduced as writing the words of a sermon that no one will hear. This is pretty explicit. No one will hear his work or even come near. It suggests that his work is for nothing. It then goes on to an image of him darning his socks, as though he's self-conscious and worried about others' opinions of himself, even though there was no one around to judge. The same techniques of spotlighting mentioned in verse 1 show themselves again, this time framing the words "no one comes near" and "what does he care?" Father Mackenzie is as lonely as Eleanor Rigby, and this point is enforced by another chorus and hook. In the third verse, Eleanor Rigby dies in the church, where she presumably worked or spent most of her time. No one remembers or mourns her, and she didn't have a partner or husband to later join her. After burying Eleanor, Father Mackenzie isn't crying or upset at her death, he merely wipes the dirt from his hands. No one was saved. Both of their lives were dedicated to the church, but no one was saved. Their lives had been meaningless. The spotlighting of nobody came and no one was saved emphasizes just how lonely and insignificant their lives were. In the climax of the story, the chorus and hook are intertwined to create the outro. The character's loneliness is captured again, this time embellished by the sympathy evoked through the hook. The discontented sigh that is so important to the song's message returns with that chromatic falling of the cello bass line over an E minor drone. In accordance with the central homage to loneliness, the story comes to a complete circle and resolution with that sigh and reference to the opening hook or introduction. Lyrically, the words use a combination of imagery, metaphors, and symbolism to convey the character's loneliness. Literary techniques of differing line lengths and abrupt changes to the rhythm in the verses are used to emphasize particular phrases that really drill the message home. The form is structured in a way that switches between story mode and commentary at the right moments to best enforce the character's loneliness, with the hook's sighing sensation being most crucial to the story's development. The low harmonic variation throws us off balance for those moments of movement, and this instability contributes to the theme, either through expressing the sighs or stressing chosen lyrics. The melody's arc also contributes to the instability of the piece in its normally falling contour. All of these elements combine together to create a song that expresses sympathy and pays homage to the lonely people.